Ambassador Sarah Chen adjusted the collar of her ceremonial dress uniform as the quantum lift carried her toward the upper chambers of the Galactic Council. The shimmering walls of pure crystal displayed her reflection, a petite woman with determination etched in every line of her face, her graying temples the only sign of 20 years in Earth's diplomatic course. The council chamber materialized around her as the lift's quantum field dissipated. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles held representatives from over 1,000 worlds. Some appeared humanoid, others defied description. The pixed aliens' tentacles shimmered with bioluminescent patterns expressing their emotions, while the crystalline Skirks delegates refracted light into complex geometric patterns that served as their formal attire. Sarah's boots clicked against the presentation platform, genuine leather, a diplomatic gift that had cost Earth's treasury dearly. The sound echoed through the vast chamber, drawing attention from beings whose civilizations had mastered faster than light travel when humans were still figuring out steam engines. Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, she began, her universal translator converting her words into 37 different languages simultaneously. Earth comes before you today with a proposal that could transform energy production across the galaxy. The massive holographic display behind her sprang to life, showing the schematics for Earth's latest breakthrough, a fusion reactor that used quantum entanglement to share power across light years without transmission loss. It had taken a consortium of Earth's finest minds 5 years to perfect, building on principles they'd gleaned from studying alien technology. Senior Counselor HFY, their crystalline form glowing with the deep purple of authority, leaned forward. You mean to tell us that a species that only achieved space flight 3 centuries ago has solved quantum power transmission? How? Amusing. The first snicker came from the Pixthalian section, their tentacles rippling with mocking bioluminescence. It spread like a wave through the chamber, growing into thunderous laughter. Some delegates didn't even bother to activate their translation matrices to understand the presentation. They were too busy joining in the mockery. But Sarah noticed something they didn't. In the outer rings, where the younger species and junior representatives sat, several delegates were taking notes. A Pixthalian youth's tentacles glowed with the pink of intense interest, quickly suppressed when an elder looked their way. A crystalline junior delegate refracted patterns that Sarah's cultural training identified as calculation and opportunity. She continued her presentation, voice steady despite the continuing ripples of laughter. The reactor design was sound. Earth had already built 3 working prototypes. The applications were revolutionary: instant power transmission to colony worlds, emergency energy for disaster relief, a foundation for a truly connected galaxy. In conclusion, Sarah stated, raising her voice slightly to carry over the diminishing chuckles, Earth offers this technology freely to all Council worlds. We ask only for fair consideration of our application for full Council membership. Senior Counselor HFY's crystalline form shifted to a patronizing shade of blue. The Council acknowledges Earth's enthusiastic contribution. We will file it appropriately with other proposals from preeminent civilizations, perhaps between the Gronchian musical mathematics and the Yith interpretive temporal dance thesis. More laughter, but Sarah maintained her diplomatic smile as she gathered her presentation materials. They could laugh. Earth's sensors had recorded everything, including which delegates had paid attention instead of joining the mockery. Sometimes the most important diplomatic information was in knowing who wasn't laughing. As she stepped back onto the quantum lift, Sarah's hand brushed the communicator in her pocket. The subtle vibration confirmed that the transmission had gone through. Every moment of the Council's response transmitted back to Earth's diplomatic course. Phase 1 was complete. They had all the confirmation they needed. It was time for Plan Omega. Dr. James Okonjo stood in Earth's embassy, watching the Galactic Trade Summit schedule update on his holographic display. His presentation on revolutionary terraforming technology had just been moved again, this time to the graveyard slot between waste management protocols and the cafeteria's monthly menu review. His dark fingers traced the edges of the data tablet containing 15 years of research, a breakthrough that could transform barren worlds into gardens within decades instead of centuries. They're not even trying to hide it anymore, Sarah Chen said, stepping into his office. The embassy's quantum oak walls adjusted their color to match her mood, a deep, frustrated burgundy. 3 months since our energy proposal, and they've downgraded us to developing civilization status in the council rankings. James settled into his chair, the smart fabric adjusting to support his tall frame. Did you see the official reason? Apparently, we lack the cultural sophistication to appreciate the delicate nuances of galactic politics. Sarah's laugh held no humor. They cited our continued use of verbal communication as primary evidence, instead of converting our consciousness to pure energy like the truly advanced species. Through the embassy's crystal windows, they could see the council's central spire rising into the artificial sky of the space station. Its impossible architecture, all floating segments and gravity-defying angles, was meant to inspire awe. Now it just looked like what it was, a monument to stagnation. We're on in 20 minutes, James said, gathering his materials. Want to watch them, not watch us. The presentation chamber was nearly empty when they arrived. 3 junior delegates dozed in the back row, their species equivalent of snoring creating an oddly harmonic backdrop. A single Pix-Ithalian representative sat in the front, their tentacles glowing with the dull green of mandatory attendance. James began his presentation anyway, his voice clear and passionate as he explained how Earth's combination of biological engineering and quantum field manipulation could accelerate planetary evolution. The holographic displays showed successful test results from Mars' northern hemisphere, a barren red desert transformed into a blooming garden in just 5 years. The Pix-Thalian's tentacles flickered briefly with interest before deliberately shifting to a bored purple. The sleeping juniors didn't stir. When James finished, the chamber's eye announced, "Next presentation. Optimization of waste reclamation protocols in zero-gravity environments." Sarah touched his arm as they left the chamber. Conference room 1. Everyone's waiting. 23 human diplomats sat around the quantum oak table in the embassy's main conference room. The wood, grown in zero gravity and infused with quantum computing elements, displayed a real-time map of known space. Earth's section glowed in subtle blue, surrounded by the red of council space. "Status reports," Sarah said, taking her seat. "What's everyone hearing in the corridors?" The reports came quickly. Trade proposals mysteriously lost in bureaucratic loops. Scientific collaborations canceled without explanation. Cultural exchange requests denied for increasingly absurd reasons. They approved the Gronkshin's application for full membership this morning, Elena Rodriguez added, her cybernetic eye displaying the newsfeed. Their civilization is 2 centuries younger than ours. The quantum oak table rippled with the collective frustration of the human diplomats. James placed his data tablet in the center, its screen showing the successful terraforming results that the council had ignored. Sarah stood, her expression resolute. "I think we gathered enough data. The question before us: do we proceed with Plan Omega?" 23 hands raised immediately. No discussion needed. "Very well." Sarah pressed her palm to the table's surface, activating the embassy's highest security protocols. "Let's show them what happens when they push humanity into a corner. Initiate total diplomatic withdrawal. It's time to rewrite the rules of the game." The neon glow of New Singapore Space Station's market district painted rainbow patterns across Maya Wong's face as she finalized the trade agreement with the MX Tally merchant. The spider-like alien's compound eyes reflected holoscreen data showing the final terms. Earth's advanced hydroponics technology in exchange for access to the next Tally trade routes in the Outer Rim. "This cannot be correct," Chetzel clicked, mandibles twitching with suspicion. "Your profit margin is only 15%. The council standard is minimum 50% on technology trades." Maya smiled, adjusting her translator's cultural context settings. "We're not interested in maximum profit, Chetzel. We want sustainable partnerships. Your trade routes combined with our hydroponics can help feed dozens of developing worlds. Everyone wins. The next tally's neural clusters pulsed with confusion. In their centuries of trading, they'd never encountered a species that voluntarily reduced their profit margins. Their biology was literally evolved for seeking maximum advantage in every exchange. And these technical specifications, Chetzel continued, compound eyes scanning the data, they're complete. No hidden protocols, no deliberately obscured components. Full technical documentation, maintenance procedures, and training included, Maya confirmed, plus direct access to our engineering teams for the first standard year. Other merchants had gathered at the edges of their meeting pod, drawn by the unprecedented nature of the negotiation. In the artificial gravity well of New Singapore Station's market district, news traveled faster than light. Chixel's neural clusters flashed in rapid sequence, their species equivalent of running complex calculations. The Council told us humans were primitive, that your technology was crude, unreliable. Maya's smile widened as she gestured to the holoscreen. Would you like to see the test results from the colony on Proxima B? They achieved food independence in 6 months using our systems. The data streamed across the screen. Crop yields, resource efficiency, adaptation rates to alien soil compositions. Chixel's mandibles clicked rapidly, the MX tally equivalent of a whistle of appreciation. We accept these terms, Chixel announced, their neural clusters glowing with excitement. But I must ask, why share such valuable technology so freely? Maya initiated the trade agreement's quantum signature protocols as she answered. Earth believes in something we call rising tides lift all ships. Your success helps us. Our success helps you. That's real trade. As they completed the final signatures, Maya's quantum communicator pulsed with updates from other Earth trade missions. A technology exchange with the crystalline beings of the Skirks combine. Medical research collaboration with the gaseous entities of the Helios clouds. Each agreement followed the same pattern. Fair terms, complete transparency, mutual benefit. In her private office aboard the station, Maya composed her report to Earth's new Independent Trade Commission. The holoscreen filled with statistics. 30 major trade agreements in the past month, all with species ignored or marginalized by the Council's rigid protocols. A priority message flashed across her screen. The MX Tally had already implemented the hydroponic systems on 3 of their colony worlds. Crop yields exceeded projections by 20%. They were requesting additional trade negotiations. Another message followed. Representatives from 12 non-council species requesting meetings. Word was spreading about Earth's fair trade policies. Maya leaned back in her zeroed chair, watching the steady stream of ships moving through New Singapore Station's docking arrays. The Council's massive trade vessels were increasingly outnumbered by smaller, independent craft, bearing the flags of Earth's new trading partners. Phase 3 proceeding ahead of schedule, she recorded in her log. The Council's economic monopoly isn't breaking. It's being rendered irrelevant. They're about to learn that trust and transparency are the most valuable commodities in the galaxy. The Neo Jazz Club Resonance in downtown Tokyo hummed with anticipation. Holographic cherry blossoms drifted through the air, passing through the crystalline form of Khazar, the Skirks musician who stood center stage. Next to the alien performer, Marcus Yu adjusted his saxophone's quantum resonance chamber, a modification specifically designed for this unprecedented duet. In the front row, Prince Texhall of the Pix-Thalian Empire sat incognito, his royal bioluminescence carefully dimmed to match that of a common merchant. His neural recorder captured everything. Back home, billions would secretly watch this illegal stream. Fascinated by the cultural fusion, the Council had declared dangerous to galactic harmony. The first notes filled the air, Khazar's crystalline body vibrating at frequencies that made the air shimmer with colors no human eye could naturally perceive. The club's advanced sensory systems translated these impossible notes into visible auroras that danced above the audience. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the alien harmonies, then lifted his saxophone. Human jazz merged with crystalline resonance. The saxophone's warm tones wove through Khazar's ethereal frequencies, creating something entirely new. The audience, a mix of humans and various alien species, sat transfixed. Amex Tally in the corner wept silently, their neural clusters pulsing in rhythm with the music. "This is why the Council fears them," Prince Texhul recorded in his hidden journal. "Humans don't just accept difference, they harmonize with it, transform it, create new forms of beauty from the combination." Across Earth's cities, similar scenes played out. In Mumbai's Orbital Gallery, a Pixethalian light sculptor collaborated with a human holographic artist, their combined work creating stories that could be both seen and felt. Barcelona's Ancient Future Museum hosted an exhibition where AI-enhanced human paintings responded to Skerk's resonance patterns, evolving into new forms as viewers interacted with them. The Council's cultural attaches filed alarmed reports about these developments. They noted with particular concern how younger aliens were flocking to Earth's universities and art schools. The human concept of creative freedom was spreading like a virus through the galaxy's next generation. After the performance, Marcus and Khazar shared a drink in Resonance's private lounge. Standard Earth whiskey for the human, liquid helium for the crystalline being. Through the window, they watched hover cars and alien vessels weave through Tokyo's skyline, their paths forming an unplanned ballet against the neon-lit clouds. "Your council representative contacted me again." Khazar's translated voice hummed through the room's acoustic field. "They offered triple my previous performance fee to return to approved resonance patterns." Marcus swirled his whiskey, watching the holographic cherry blossoms pass through its amber depths. And Khazar's crystalline form shifted through a rainbow of colors, their equivalent of laughter. "I told them that Earth pays less but offers something no fee can match, the freedom to create something truly new." Their conversation was interrupted by a message alert. The stream of their performance had already reached the Outer Rim colonies. Requests for similar fusion concerts were flooding in from across the galaxy. Even some council worlds were making discreet inquiries, using private channels to avoid official notice. Prince Texhul finished his recording and prepared to transmit it through quantum-encrypted channels. His tentacles glowed briefly with determination as he added a final note. "Father always taught me that culture was about preservation. But here on Earth, I'm learning that true culture is about evolution. The Council's greatest fear isn't human technology or trade policies. It's their ability to make change itself feel like an art form." In the club below, Marcus and Khazar began planning their galactic tour. They'd start with the independent worlds, but left dates open for Council planets. Experience suggested that once the music started, no government could stop its people from wanting to dance. Red emergency lights pulsed through the Galactic Innovation Hub's main chamber as Dr. Aisha Patel studied the holographic displays. Another ship had lost artificial gravity, the third this week. The vessel, a Pixethalian medical transport, hung dead in space while its crew clung to emergency tethers. "Pattern analysis complete," announced Araya, Earth's Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant. The AI projected a galaxy map marking every gravity failure from the past month. Failure rate increasing exponentially. Estimate total collapse of galactic artificial gravity network within 30 standard days. Aisha rubbed her temples, watching the emergency reports flood in. The Council's science directory had already failed to solve the crisis. Their top researchers, working in isolated labs under strict security protocols, couldn't identify the cause of the cascading gravity failures. "Open the hub," she commanded. Full spectrum broadcast. The Innovation Hub's quantum channels activated, sending invitations across the galaxy. Not just to scientists and engineers, but to anyone who might have insights. The Council had called this approach chaotic and undisciplined. Aisha called it casting the widest possible net. Within hours, the hub's virtual space filled with participants. A Pixethalian theoretical physicist shared complex equations about gravity wave harmonics. A teenage human gamer from Seoul suggested parallels between the failure pattern and behaviors she'd observed in physics simulation games. Gerk's crystal singer offered insights about resonance patterns in artificial gravity fields. "They're all seeing pieces of the puzzle," Aisha muttered, watching the real-time collaboration unfold. Araya, cross-reference all incoming theories. Look for overlapping patterns. The AI processed the flood of information, correlating seemingly unrelated insights. The teenager's game observations revealed a mathematical pattern that the Pexthalian physicist had missed. The Skerk's resonance data explained anomalies in the failure cascade. "Got it," shouted Wei Chen, a quantum engineering student from Singapore, his avatar lighting up in the virtual space. "The gravity field harmonics are degrading because of accumulated quantum entanglement." The Pexthalian physicist's tentacles glowed with excitement. "Yes, like musical notes becoming discordant over time. We need to reset the base frequency of the entire network. Like respawning a game universe," added the teenage gamer. "But how do we sync it across the whole galaxy?" The Skerk's crystal singer's form shimmered. "We can use our resonance techniques to create a carrier wave for the reset signal." Aisha watched in amazement as the solution emerged through their collaboration. No single person could have solved it alone. But together, combining different perspectives and expertise, they created something new. "Implementation plan ready," Araya announced after processing their combined solution. Estimated success probability, 98.7%. The hub participants held their breath as the reset signal propagated through the galaxy's gravity network. On the emergency channels, reports of failing ships dropped to zero. The Pexthalian medical transport's gravity restored, allowing them to resume their vital mission. Messages flooded the hub. Council World scientists, who had been participating anonymously, revealed themselves. They'd seen firsthand how Earth's open collaboration model had succeeded where their closed research had failed. "Fascinating approach," commented a senior council researcher, their identity still masked. "In 3 days of open collaboration, you solved what our best minds couldn't crack in months." Aisha smiled as she composed her report to Earth's science directory. "The solution wasn't in any single breakthrough," she wrote. "It was in creating a space where different perspectives could combine freely. Innovation isn't just about knowledge, it's about connection." On her screen, applications for the Innovation Hub's permanent membership were pouring in from across council space. The gravity crisis had shown them a new way of solving problems, and no amount of council resistance could stop an idea whose time had come. High Councilors Caprix's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained frustration as they reviewed the latest reports. The council chamber, once filled to capacity, now held barely 2/3 of its members. The empty platform spoke louder than any protest. "Another delegation requests temporary leave," their aide announced, a junior crystalline whose facets showed concerning signs of Earth-influenced asymmetrical patterns. The Enxteri cite cultural exchange opportunities as their reason. "Cultural exchange?" Caprix's form flickered with derision. "You mean they wish to participate in that chaos humans call innovation?" The aide projected the latest statistics into the chamber's quantum field. Trade with Earth-aligned worlds had increased by 300% in the past 3 months. Educational exchange applications to Earth universities had overwhelmed their processing systems. Even more troubling, council members were beginning to adopt human diplomatic protocols in their internal communications. A priority alert chimed through the chamber. On New Pexthalia, the youth movement had organized another collaborative art performance. The council's cultural enforcement drones had arrived to shut it down, only to find themselves incorporated into the performance itself, their prohibition protocols transformed into a haunting musical rhythm. The recording played in the chamber. Thousands of young Pexthalians, their tentacles glowing with synchronized patterns, dancing with the enforcement drones in a display that merged protest with performance art. Humans in the crowd added their own movements, creating a hypnotic fusion, of species expression that was already going viral across the galaxy's information networks. "We can't stop the spread of these transmissions," another aide reported. "They're using some kind of quantum-encrypted peer-to-peer network. Every attempt to block it just creates new distribution channels." Scaprix accessed their private communication channel, where messages from other senior counselors awaited. The MX Tally representatives were demanding an emergency session to discuss trade policy reform. The Helios Collective threatened to withdraw completely if research restrictions weren't lifted. "Show me the Earth model analysis," Scaprix commanded. The chamber filled with comparative data. Council worlds maintaining traditional protocols showed stagnating growth, rising unrest, and declining innovation. Those experimenting with Earth-style open systems displayed the opposite: economic growth, cultural flourishing, and unprecedented scientific advances. A message marked "highest privacy" caught their attention. The Council's own youth education facilities were experiencing disruption. Students were asking uncomfortable questions. Why couldn't they collaborate with other species? Why were cultural expressions so rigidly controlled? Why did the Council fear change? Through the chamber's crystal walls, Scaprix could see the endless stream of ships flowing through the Council station's docking arrays. More vessels now bore the markings of Earth-aligned independent worlds than traditional Council members. The traffic patterns themselves told the story: ships moving freely between sectors, ignoring the traditional hierarchical lanes of approach. "Your offspring's application has been flagged," the aide announced quietly. "They've requested enrollment in Earth's interspecies creative arts program." Scaprix's form shifted to deep indigo, the color of profound distress. Their own child, whom they had groomed for Council leadership, wanted to study human artistic expression. The Chamber's emergency protocols activated as reports flooded in from across Council space. The Pix-Ethalian youth movement was spreading to other worlds. Council enforcement protocols were being met with art, music, and peaceful demonstration. Each attempt at suppression was transformed into inspiration for new forms of creative resistance. The humans, Scaprix realized, their crystalline surface reflecting the chaos of incoming reports. They've made adaptation itself into an art form. How do we enforce order against that? The aide's response was interrupted by another priority alert. 3 more Council worlds were suspending their memberships, citing the need to explore alternative models of galactic cooperation. The cracks in the Council's perfect crystal tower were spreading, and no amount of traditional protocol could hold them back. The gamma-ray burst hit without warning. A stellar core collapse near the galactic center sent waves of radiation cascading through heavily trafficked trade routes. Within hours, the Council's carefully ordered economic system began to unravel. Ambassador Sarah Chen watched the crisis unfold from Earth's new Galactic Coordination Center in Geneva. The holographic display showed thousands of distress signals from affected worlds, including many that had mocked Earth just years before. "Council emergency response systems are overwhelmed," reported Dr. James Okonjo, now Earth's Director of Interstellar Aid. "Their hierarchical protocols can't handle simultaneous crises across multiple sectors." Sarah studied the real-time data streams. The Council world Pix, Elia Prime, home to some of their harshest critics, was facing imminent food system collapse. Their automated agricultural networks had failed, and radiation interference prevented standard supply ships from reaching them. "Deploy the Gamma Fleet," Sarah commanded without hesitation. Earth's new emergency response ships, designed to operate in extreme radiation conditions, were already being loaded with supplies. Maya Wong's voice came through the quantum comm from New Singapore Station. "The MX Tally Trade Consortium is offering their fastest routes. They say they owe us for the hydroponic systems that saved their colonies." Across Earth's network, similar offers poured in. Independent worlds opened their ports. Former Council members shared their resources. The teenage gamer, whose insights had helped solve the gravity crisis, provided navigation algorithms that could plot safe paths through the radiation. The first Earth ship arrived at Pex Thalia Prime within 12 hours. Captain Yuki Tanaka transmitted a simple message: "We come to help." No conditions, no treaties, no demands. In the Council's emergency session, the recording of that transmission caused an uproar. It must be a trick, some claimed. They're exploiting our weakness, others warned. But the evidence was undeniable. Earth ships were delivering aid to any world that needed it, regardless of political alignment. The radiation-shielded vessels, built using technology the Council had once mocked as primitive, now represented the difference between survival and disaster for many worlds. In Geneva, Sarah received an unexpected call. High Counselor Scaprix's crystalline form shimmered on the holographic display. "Why?" they asked simply. "After our treatment of your species, why help us?" Sarah smiled, remembering that first laughing reception in the council chamber. "Because that's what humans do. We adapt, we innovate, and when others are in need, we help. Not because we expect anything in return, but because we can." The crisis lasted 3 weeks. When it ended, the galaxy's political landscape had shifted more dramatically than any council decree could have achieved. Earth's open emergency response system had proved more effective than millennia of rigid protocols. In the Galactic Coordination Center, Sarah reviewed the after-action reports. Council worlds were formally requesting Earth's assistance in redesigning their emergency response protocols. The Pexthalians had invited human agricultural experts to help rebuild their systems with more flexible, resilient designs. Most surprisingly, applications for Earth's diplomatic training programs were flooding in from Council worlds. They wanted to learn what they had once mocked: human-style adaptive diplomacy. The Council's oldest teaching says that power comes from control, Sarah dictated in her report to Earth's leadership. But we've proven something different. True power comes from connection, from adaptation, from reaching out when others need help. She paused, watching the streams of ships moving through Earth's sectors on the holographic display. The traffic patterns had changed. No more rigid hierarchies, just the organic flow of worlds working together. In their worst crisis, she continued, we answered mockery with mercy. And in doing so, we didn't just save lives. We showed the galaxy a better way to live. The Open Galactic Conference Center in New Delhi sparkled under the morning sun, its architecture blending Earth's ancient wisdom with innovations from 100 worlds. Crystal spires grown by Skirk's artisans caught the light, creating rainbow patterns that danced across walls painted with Pexthalian bioluminescent murals. The building itself was a testament to what cooperation could achieve. Ambassador Sarah Chen, her hair now silver, but her eyes as sharp as ever, adjusted her ceremonial sari as she prepared to address the gathered representatives. 10 years had passed since Earth's withdrawal from the Council. 10 years that had transformed the galaxy more profoundly than the previous 1,000. In the front row, she spotted familiar faces. Dr. James Okonjo, now coordinating a multi-species terraforming project that was reclaiming dead worlds. Maya Wong, whose trade reforms had created a new model of galactic commerce. The teenage gamer, now grown into a respected quantum physicist, chatting with her Pexthalian research partner. We gather today not as rulers and ruled, Sarah began, her words translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages, but as equals seeking a better future together. The assembled delegates represented every spacefaring species. Former council worlds sat beside independent traders, their traditional hierarchies forgotten. Young aliens who had studied at Earth's universities led discussions about cultural exchange and scientific cooperation. Prince Hexhall, now first speaker of the reformed Pexthalian Assembly, rose to address the gathering. His tentacles glowed with patterns that the audience had learned to recognize as hope. 10 years ago, I sat in a jazz club in Tokyo, hiding my identity, watching humans merge their music with our art. I learned then what the council had forgotten. That strength comes not from imposing order, but from embracing change. In the conference center's garden, Khazar the crystalline musician performed with an entire Earth Symphony Orchestra. Their music, once considered a dangerous violation of council protocols, now served as the unofficial anthem of the new galactic community. Therefore, Sarah continued, Earth extends an invitation to the Galactic Council itself, not to rule, but to join us as equals in building something new. A stir ran through the audience as High Counselor Scaprix's successor floated forward. The crystalline being's form shimmered with colors that indicated both humility and hope. We who once laughed at humanity have learned to laugh with them instead, they announced. The council accepts your invitation, not as superiors, but as students ready to learn. The applause began softly, then built like a wave. Species that once needed translation matrices to communicate now understood each other's joy directly. The conference center's quantum oak panels resonated with the combined emotions of 1,000 worlds celebrating together. Sarah's gaze drifted to the window, where ships of all designs moved freely through Earth's skies. Among them, she spotted a vessel of pure crystalline energy, the latest innovation from the human Skerx research institutes. Nearby, a Pexthalian trading ship decorated with Japanese cherry blossom patterns demonstrated how deeply the cultures had merged. Let the history records show, she concluded, that humanity's greatest victory came not through force or fear, but through an open hand extended in friendship. We didn't need to break the old order. We simply showed a better way to live. As if to punctuate her words, a new star blazed to life in the evening sky. The first successful test of Human Council collaborative stellar engineering. Its light reached Earth just as the sun set, a perfect symbol of the new dawn they had created together. In the garden, the symphony reached its crescendo, human and alien music intertwining in joyous harmony. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson, that the future belongs not to those who cling to power, but to those who dare to share it.